Well, hello there, it's old man Steve. You know, I had the strangest experience the other day. I went to the grocery store, and I got my groceries, went out to the car and was putting them in the car, and this car came up real slow right by my car, and she stopped and she started yelling at me. She was pointing her finger and says, "You gotta stop it, you need to leave my mother alone. You can't take advantage of her that way." And I'm looking around. I didn't know that she was talking to me. I thought I was just talking to somebody else. Anyway, she just kept yelling and pointing her finger at me, and I'm going, I put my hand on it, ma'am, what are you talking about? She said, "You know damn well what I'm talking about." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I don't." And she said, "Well, you need to leave my mother alone." And I says, "I don't think I know your mother. What's your mother's name?" And she told me her name, and I says, "Well, I don't know anybody by that name." She said, "Oh, yes, you do, you son of a gun, you." And I said, "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong person," you know. And I turned to open the door to get in the car, and she got out of the car and she came around. I mean, she was parked right behind me. I couldn't have left if I wanted to. And she came over and she put her hands on her hips and she says, "You know exactly what I'm talking about. You promised my mother you were going to do this and you were going to do that, and then you up and left her for another woman." And I started laughing. And she said, "It's not a funny matter." And I said, "Well, it is to me because I have no idea what you're talking about." And I said, "Well, what was your mother's name again?" And she told me, and I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't know anybody by that name." She said, "Well, I know you do. You go to her church, and that's where it all started." And I said, "What church is that?" And she told me the name of the church, and I said, "I don't go to that church." And at this point, I think it kind of maybe started dawning on her maybe that I wasn't who she thought I was. And so she said, "Well, is your name Ralph?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, you look just like Ralph in my mother's church." And she got in her car and drove off. Poor Ralph. Well, anyway, that made my day. But boy, she was ready to beat me up. But anyway, the moral to this story is always get your facts straight before you attack somebody. I don't know what Ralph did to her mother, but I'm glad it wasn't me. Well, okay, this is old man Steve, and boy, she was really mad. Okay, see you next time. Bye.